Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must do it because conscience tells him it is right.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard.
Fighting for humanity and against globalism, one mind at a time. It's the Freedom Link with Joe Joseph.
Well, hello, everybody. It's been a couple weeks, but we're back. Freedom Link here, Joe Joseph, Scotty Lopez. Man, KGRADB.com. Make sure you go there. It's been a hell of a week. Been a hell of a 3 weeks. You got thunder. I got smoke.
Interesting weather we've been having lately. Hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. No, the weather's been weird. In the Northeast, the skies have been weird. The air has definitely been weird. To me, it's kind of in a good way because it smells like smoke, like wood. You know? So it's like, ooh, seasonally inappropriate for this time of year. However, not bad. Could be worse, right? Of course, they're telling everybody, oh, by the way, don't go running outside. Don't do any strenuous physical activities. Your heart could explode or you might have a stroke or something like that. Smoke inhalation, yada, yada, yada.
Oh, and don't forget all the fear mongering of climate change apocalypse.
Dude, it's been cooler. It's been cooler because of it. It's like blocked the sun out in so many ways. Excellent. That's what I'm talking about. You know, whatever. I'll take the cold. I'm all right with that. Although I like green. See, there's got to be a balance. I wish there was a balance. You know, green, room temperature, no pollen or bugs. Hot damn. Never see it, but hey, we can dream about it.
We can always wish for that perfect
yeah, we can dream about it. Yeah. No, it's been a crappy week. As you see in America, often, more so than not, greed rules the day in Wall Street, of course. And
right.
The way companies really do this and make ends meet now, because it's getting harder and harder to find efficiencies and to compete against cheaper labor in foreign economies. Yeah, we know the deal there. But on the same day that my company merged with another, my position was eliminated. So yeah, very uncomfortable feeling, I must say. And one that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. The only thing I can say is, I wish these companies would handle things a little more humanely. And that means if you know something's coming down the pipe, obviously they had an inkling of all this stuff. There's obviously a plan. There was a discussion somewhere, some way that affected me and others. And none of that was relayed to us. And you would think they'd have the decency to say, look, this is coming. It's possible. And it might behoove you to maybe put something out there just in case. I get the point that, well, we want them to be working up to the last possible second because, you know, that's efficient. You got to be efficient and you're getting your money's worth, and you don't want them to know because then they may leave early. They may do something in retribution or whatever, but it never really pans out that way. It always ends up that the worker gets screwed. you know? And in this case, I got screwed. Yeah, pretty bad. And not just me, but others too. And in this economy right now, it's very difficult. Very difficult. Why? Of course, you got the inflation. You got that going on. But you've also got a lot of strife, a lot of stress, that, quite frankly, didn't exist in prior generations. And where I'm going with this is the input of information, of things into your brain, the demands of the employers are now just so strenuous. They want so much out of you that people can't handle it.
Yeah, you're seeing that across the board where companies and corporations are just like trying to squeeze blood out of a stone. You know what I mean? It's they
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they try to extract as much as humanly possible to the detriment, you know, of the worker, and
So
it's
just, and I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example. I'll use me as an example. So here I was, you know, at an aerospace company, and doing two things. First of all, any place you go to, they're always going to give you the line, safety first, right? Safety first. Okay. Oh, but they'll tell you, they'll put signs up to say, when you go up the stairs, make sure you have 3 points of contact. You know, like, duh, you got to hold the railing when you go on the stairs. Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. You know, or make sure you're wearing your PPE at all times, personal protective equipment, right? Got to do that. Got to wear your PPE. Okay. Because we're idiots, right? We want to lose our fingers and everything else. So, yeah, we need to be told to be safe. No. It's so number one that in my situation, they split the role. I had more than one responsibility. So I not only had to do all health, safety, and environmental, but I also had to do all facility maintenance as well. And decent sized facility. Ain't no way anybody's doing that right within a regular work week, without losing sight of something somewhere, somehow. Something's not compliant, something's not being done, something's not getting PM, something's not happening, right? Right. It's that simple. So the question is, how do you say safety's first, but you split that role? That's number one. I don't get that. Then at this same place, right? Metal processing. Do a lot of metal processing. So there's a chemical process that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And you typically have a line and tanks, and you dippy doo-dah. You know about that, Scotty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, at this place, the line's 30 years old, close to, and it's a death trap. Some of the most dangerous crap. I mean, you're talking like hexavalent chromium, all of it. Nasty crap.
Oh, yeah.
Nasty.
You don't want that spilled on you, let's just say.
No. And you'd think there'd be a sense of urgency to get rid of it. No. I mean, I was part of a team that designed the replacement for it. Should last a long time. Won't see it come to fruition. However, it was a pretty damn battle-hardened line that would last a very long time, be very efficient, all that stuff. But in the meantime, you got to make this line work. And then, oh, by the way, you got to run both lines while one qualifies and one decommissions. So this freaking line, this old line, is not, I mean, it leaks like a sieve, you know, nasty crap, slabs eaten away, freaking eats through all the electrical systems, you know,
completely deteriorated infrastructure.
Yeah. It's a death trap, but safety first, folks. That's right. Safety first. And see, it's all lip service. It's all baloney. What they try to do and what they have been doing, and this is people's solutions because they're so overworked and so overwhelmed that they have to automate every possible thing that they can in order to keep their head above water, for lack of a better term. But everything needs an SOP. And if you don't follow that SOP, gosh darn it, you're going to get written up, canned. And those SOPs were developed many years ago for
those of you who don't know, that stands for Standard Operating Procedure.
Thank you very much. They were developed a long time ago. It's called instructions, how to do things. And you do it, and that's great. For a lot of it was casualty response. A lot of it military based. If you see this casualty, do A, B, C. Why? Because I don't have time to troubleshoot that crap. We're at war. Right? It was for efficiency's purpose. But we've gone way too far with these things. And it's had a direct effect at dumbing people down. And that's what you get. You get automatons with SOPs, if that's all that they can do. And if you don't follow it, by cracky, we're going to write you up. Well, that's what safety's become. Now we have all these policies. Now you've got to do it exactly that way. Well, what if I'm not comfortable that way? Great example of that. Everybody seen a Skyjack or a scissor lift, right? Most of these companies require you to wear a harness on one of those. And if you have no tie downs, you got to tie to the scissor lift. Now, what if that thing falls? I've been one that fell over, dude. You don't want to be tied to that thing.
Right.
You want to be able to get off it if you have to. Jump.
You've strapped yourself to the death trap,
Yeah.
basically. You know?
Yeah. You're getting a suplex from hell. I'm just going to say that right now, man. That's bad. These are the kind of idiotic things that these companies do because they don't know any better. People are just throwing shit at the wall. Okay, that's it. Write it down. We're good. Next. It's gotten out of control. A lot of people are under immense strain from this. Stress is at an all-time high. Even if it's not monetary stress, right? If you've got a cushion, wonderful. Problem is most people don't these days. Those cushions are a thing of the past. You're lucky if you do. If you have any sort of extenuating circumstances in your life, you know, that makes it that much harder. And you know, Scotty, and I know how that is. It's difficult. More and more people are suffering this, and we're not making it any easier on ourselves. So what's the solution? Let's automate even more. Okay. This is good. Okay. So now we're going down that road. Okay. Well, in 2016, I did a documentary with Aaron and Melissa Dykes called Obsolete. And it was about the obsolescence of human labor. And what the hell are we going to do? What are we going to do when human labor is obsolete? We're starting to get there. You're starting to see these things come around now where jobs are being eliminated due to technology. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and it, you know, we could see this coming, you know, and then
Sure.
you started to see the rise of artificial intelligence and how they're really going to start utilizing that, you know, for these
Right.
purposes. But, you know, with the way the economy is right now and everything, you're seeing all of these mergers and corporate buyouts and a lot of these smaller companies that are just having a hard time staying afloat. You know, they're getting bought out by bigger companies and getting involved in these mergers. And then on top of that, you know, they want to find a way to make things as efficient as possible and all of that, you know, because when the economy's in a downturn, there's always going to be the winners in that situation, right? And
No doubt, no doubt.
that take advantage of that downturn in the economy, and that's where you see the corporate buyouts. That's where you see the mergers and all of that.
Well,
stuff.
let's talk about another. Let's talk about another place. You're right. A great example of that. Great example of that. But not so much on the work side, but how it affects us. Because
Right.
not only have we seen wages stay stagnant, if you think about where wages are relative to, say, 1955, we don't get paid near as much as people did back in 1955 relative to what a dollar is worth.
Right, because the inflation has rose, but
It's eroded everybody's purchasing power.
right,
right?
and but the actual amount that a person makes has not rose with the inflation, right?
No, even with that, right? They're stagnant.
Right.
It's terrible.
Right.
I mean, you'll hear in the news, yes, well, we've seen wage growth. They'll go over. No, you haven't. That's bull. That's absolute horse pucky. And everybody knows it. You've got tax loads that are unbelievably aggressive, and I'm take post World War II out and during World War II when the top tier tax rate was 90%. That's pretty aggressive too. But that was in response to a crisis. It was rolled back. Now, no, everything is taxed. And there's many invisible taxes. But it doesn't even stop there. Because those big corporations then say, well, crap, you know what? We just fleeced all these people out of all this money, and we need to put it somewhere. So companies like BlackRock, right, who basically own the world, couldn't find anything else to invest in and buy. So what did they do? They start buying up all the real estate. And now you've got an affordability crisis in the housing market that is of cataclysmic proportions to the point where it's priced out almost half of the U.S. How do you do that? How do you do that and it be not? How is that okay with anybody? And where is the outrage? I mean, think about this. Look at where housing prices are now. It is absolutely absurd. Who in the hell could afford a house on one income? Who?
Right.
I don't see it. How do you do that? If you rent, it's even worse. You know what is going on is exactly what Scott said, Agenda 21. They're going to make it so damn unaffordable that you're going to live in a freaking cube in a high rise and you'll go to work or you do your thing, or maybe there is no work. I don't know. But slowly but surely, society is being restructured.
Right. And you were telling me before the show that they're closing down, or that rural hospitals are shutting down, and this is all part of it. I mean, we're seeing the death of like rural small towns, and I suggest that people go on YouTube and type it in, like the death of rural America or something along those lines, and you'll see a lot of videos that people are making where they just drive into these small towns, like these small towns in West Texas.
Can you see my screen?
No.
All right, hold on one second. I'm going to see if I can pull this up, and I will show everybody what exactly. Let's see. All right. Can you see it now?
Nope.
No? How about now?
Oh,
Here you go.
There we go.
Okay.
But yeah.
This rural California county lost its only hospital, leaving residents with dire health care choices. This is a problem. And this is happening all over America. And in this case, they bring up this lady, Sabrina Baker, mother of 6, had contractions. And any sort of complications, she can't go to her local hospital because that local hospital is closed. So now she's got to go to the city hospital. And you can't really do that when you're... It's a whole big issue. So now people are, even though rural America's dying, Now it's really dying because there's no hospitals. So if you need any health care, well, too bad, so sad.
I mean, there
You
are
know?
like what a few core
Yeah, right.
sort
Border
of
babies, everything. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a
things are getting weird, bad, and that is a huge concern that everybody just keeps going on about their lives. La 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 la. Everything's okay. Do 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 do. It's not until you lose your job, really, that you really get focused on a lot of things.
right. And there are a few core things that make a community, right? Like you got to have a school, you got to have a hospital.
Yep.
You got to have, there's a few, like a police station, probably, there's like a few core things. And
Yeah.
if you remove any of those things, then you've, pretty much kind of put the kibosh on there being a community there,
Right.
because who wants to live in a town that doesn't have a hospital, right?
No,
Or-
right. And then, interestingly enough, excess deaths, right? Excess deaths skyrocketing throughout the world, but particularly UK, United States, some of the highest rates of excess deaths. Now, according to the Centers for Disease Control, I hate saying that. Excess deaths are typically defined as, quote, the difference between the observed number of deaths in specific time periods and expected number of deaths in that same time period. The visualization provides weekly estimates of excess deaths by jurisdictions in which the deaths occurred.
Basically,
There-
kind of like a spike above average or something along those lines.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
And there is a gent on YouTube, a doctor from the UK, that does some amazing.
Is that Dr.
Um,
Campbell?
Dr. John Campbell.
Ah, yes. Amazing guy. I
Amazing
enjoyed
guy,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Campbell brought this to my attention. But if you think about it, this is not out of the ordinary at all. As a matter of fact, you can root cause analysis this and find many contributing factors to it. However, truly, it has to do with the way society is, where it's going, and the modes and methods at which things are changing and evolving is killing people off.
Right.
It just is. So let's think about this for a second, right? We had COVID, which by now everybody and their mother knows and has accepted that the Jabberooski was a crock of crap and did a lot more harm than good. And wouldn't you know it, excess deaths started to go up. If you take a look at the death rate for COVID, it's small, very small. You really had to have a special condition and or
Yeah, you had to
being
have,
old,
like underlying conditions or
Right.
being
Being old
elderly
or infirm,
Yeah, being old.
right? So, yeah, of course. And any sort of new disease, of course, that's been bioengineered, is probably going to wreak havoc, and it's going to cause your numbers to spike. The issue is the numbers haven't gone down. They have been elevated and continue to be elevated. This is a very big problem. Some places are 20 to 40% above expected deaths. And this is like week after week after week after week. He does a lot of shows you a lot of charts. He pulls a lot of data from the National Health Service and also medical journals and other country sources. So he doesn't even stick to the UK. He goes global. And it's
Right.
happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere. So when you start looking at those places, what are some of the things that are going on or inputs that we are exposed to that could be contributing to that? Well, RF is a big problem. We are now into 5G territory. There's probably things being used in the 7G range. I would take it, probably, in some way, shape, or form, not in public use, primarily military use, but it's out there.
Yeah,
and
people are being exposed to it.
And at this point, it doesn't even really matter because it's already harmful. See, that's the problem. That's the problem with this kind of radiation, is it's low dose. It's microdosing, is what you're doing. You're microdosing yourself over time, and radiation effects are cumulative. So it can take years and years to manifest itself, but it's starting to manifest itself to the point where they have to put the warnings, they have to put the health effects in the manuals to your phones now, because they can't hide it anymore. It's bad, right? Well, now you've got 5G. 5G is a tighter wavelength. Remember, the tighter the wavelength, the more it can penetrate through soft tissue and things like that. The longer the wavelength, the reason why HF, high frequency, or ham radio can go over the horizon is because the wavelength is so long, it can't penetrate the atmosphere, so it bounces off the top of the atmosphere and it goes back down. Anything above that, VHF, UHF, goes through the atmosphere and out into space. So they are typically line of sight.
Right. And for those of you out there, Joe knows what he's talking about because he worked on communications in the Navy. So
yeah.
he knows how this stuff works. So
yeah, so now we're into this range.
Right.
And some of the things that can cause in the short term is cardio problem, heart issues, nervous system issues. It can scramble your brain sometimes.
Right, because your heart is based off an electric signal, right? And
correct.
Anything that interferes with that electric pulse is going to cause problems.
Yeah. So we have what I like to call RF pollution. Everybody worries about pollution and carbon. Carbon's the least of our concerns.
Right.
Radio frequency is so much more dangerous and so much more of an issue right now than any sort of carbon you can throw up in the atmosphere. Look at the fires, for God's sake. It's turning my sky orange. It's turning my sky orange. By the way, I was just told that we're going to have to be the guests on Popeye's show tonight, too.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever.
So it looks like we're going to have to do that for a little bit. But as he goes back and finishes his chickens, and don't think he's not going to get relentlessly messed around with that, too, because that's going to happen. So you definitely want to stay tuned. RF bad. Then you've got the stress level, right? People's hearts are failing them because it's freaking bad, man. It is. The U.S. is not the land of the free, the home of the brave, the roads paved with gold, the opportunity and all that stuff. Yeah. Maybe if I want to cross over the border and take my chances, that may be the case because of the type of handouts, the Social Security, the tax rebates, all of that stuff that people who never paid into the system are getting. Heck, it might be advantageous. Who knows? Maybe I'll try that.
I heard the government
might be a good line of work.
I heard the government is going to be paying like landlords or whatever like $4,000 a month to house
right
immigrants. Yeah,
so, and then to boot, you're dealing with reverse discrimination and all that. Now we've worked so hard to make, whether you got a star on your belly or not, You know, seriously, whether you're white or black or plaid, it don't matter, right? We thought we were past that, but apparently we just yeah. It's just gonna. This is the classic. Holy crap! How do we make society just unravel? This is how you do it. This is how you do it. And there's been a plan about this for years. I mean, we're talking 1940s, 1950s, even back to the 19th century, the late 1800s. Norman Dodd uncovered this kind of plan.
And this is also, I mean, the demoralization of America, right?
Right.
Yuri Bezmenov talked about it with G. Edward Griffin, and
Yep.
It's all part of the plan. It started with the education system, and once you demoralize one or two generations of people, I mean, you've pretty much
just recently they arrested people for going to church. I mean,
right.
Okay. This is the world we live in. So, understandably, I can see that contributing to excess deaths. So you have the stress level, we've got the RF pollution. How about food insecurity, right? And that's even with unprecedented amount of assistance and everything else. And let me tell you something. Losing your job puts you in a territory that is very uncomfortable. And it's kind of almost like if you want to train yourself, what would it be like if we had that Carrington event where you have a solar flare, just knocks everything out, and you have to live without electricity for an extended period of time? How would that work? Well, you don't know unless you sit down in your living room after you throw the main breaker and start writing things down. How did my life just change? And that's just here at home right now. That's not what's happening next week or 2 weeks from now after society's gone full-blown collapse. I'm just saying then, and it blows your mind. You're like, holy moly, I never realized how much you depend on electricity and all the ways it affects your life, and it's now gone. I know this too now. I lost my job. Holy crap. I still got to feed my family. I still got to do that. But you got that? Oh, how about energy? Oh man, when you lose your job, it's a lot harder to deal with that too, because look at how much energy costs. How much is energy? It's record amounts of money, and it's all fleecing you. It's absolute nonsense. Should not be paying this much for energy, but we do. Why? Greed. Absolute greed. It all comes down to greed. And a lot of people will blame OPEC, but I got news for you. OPEC got screwed many years ago during the oil embargo. And actually before the oil embargo, OPEC gets together. And OPEC was promised a certain price. And I can't remember what the criteria was, but I wrote it down somewhere and I will find it. But basically it was, you'll get X amount of this. We guarantee X amount of this, and everything's fine. And wouldn't you know it, U.S. screwed them. Just screwed them over, like we always do. And they said, oh, yeah? Okay, good. Here. And then we had the energy crisis. But they initially got screwed over by us. And that was their response. Ever since then, there has been no trust. And it's just been a constant tug of war back and forth. Meanwhile, here's the United States, the largest oil producer in the world, and we still have a ton of resources, and we're not doing anything about that. It's crazy. And now countries are starting to divest of the petrodollar, which of course, once that happens, bad juju. Now some economists will tell you that that's a lot of fear mongering, because they can't divest of the dollar because they've done too much to entangle themselves to the dollar. And I say BS, because China is really helping push that along now at breakneck speed. And when you have a country like that has the resources to do that, they're going to do it. And then they're going to hold those people by the freaking neck. All those countries that took that bait. Not saying the U.S. is a good option or the Western banking system, because it's not. It's absolute crap. But BRICS, they most certainly have a way around. Just like Russia. I mean, yeah, okay. War in Ukraine, not going so good. Says who? Says who? The Western media? Oh, okay. The Western media. Well, how did all those embargoes and all those sanctions do on Russia? Oh, yeah, they didn't really work too good, did they? No, they'll tell you, well, they can't make missiles. They can't do this. They can't do that. Well, they don't exactly have the GDP or the resources that we do. However, have you noticed how the United States is lately? We can't make missiles and we can't do things because of supply chain snags and everything else. Right. It's been terrible. It's not just the Russia. It's the way the world is right now.
And people also need to realize how big Russia is and how Russia and how Russia can be self-sufficient, just like we could be self-sufficient if we really wanted to, energy independent and all of that stuff. But as opposed to what we're doing, Russia's actually utilizing their resources, and they're actually, drilling for the oil that they have on, within their, country and exploiting their own resources, unlike us. So, we can put all the sanctions we want on them, but that doesn't affect a country that is completely self-sufficient,
No. And I think a lot of that is a smokescreen for so many things. I mean, if you've listened to the Freedom Link long enough and the Kev Baker Show and Freaky Friday, and you would know that Ukraine's been a corrupt country for quite some time. Some time. Mm-hmm. And that didn't change with the Ukrainian war. No. And Ukraine is basically a U.S. puppet government sitting right on the doorstep of Russia. And they were doing some pretty shady things there that would cause concern if it was happening on our doorstep. We'll put it that way.
Remember, we used to talk to, I believe his name was Max.
Max,
from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And, and this was years ago. This was before the quote unquote revolution or whatever that took place in Ukraine back in 2014, was it?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how corrupt the Ukrainian government was and all of that, and right. Sort of he provided us an insider look to the lead up of what we're seeing now, which was very interesting. Now looking back at it, how we were able to talk to somebody in the Ukraine that was
and then the bioweapons labs and all that stuff that they had there. There's a lot more to that story, right? Mm-hmm. It's like there's a lot more to the story of why Putin invaded and why the West is so adamant to keep this going. And
there's a lot of skeletons in the Ukraine that the US does not want.
That's right.
Found, and there's a lot going on there that I think we don't I think it's beyond what even we can imagine, the corruption between the Ukraine and government officials here in the US I think is really, really there's a lot there.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. I tend to think that all of these conflicts typically have ulterior motives. Like what you see on the surface is not the reason why it's happening. That there's deeper reasons by the 10 or 20,000 control freaks that don't have borders that don't give a crap about you or me. They just want to mold the world into something that they've created to put their stamp on it, right? And
It's the global chessboard, as they say.
right. The Bilderbergers, the classic examples. There are reasons why they're doing this. Some of it, of course, is because the current monetary system is dying and, well, dead. But they need crises to help force a transition. And that's fast becoming a reality where you're going to start to see more and more leaving the petrodollar, using alternative currencies. You'll see the yuan gain more power. And eventually, the United States won't be the world reserve currency. Historically, we're way past time. About 70 years on average, it works out to be. And then the next lackey gets in there and gets shellacked by greed and everything else. We are not.
I equate it to a roller coaster, right? And okay, so when you first start going on the roller coaster, you're going up and up and up and up. That first big drop, right? Yep. And the United States has been going up and up and up and up and up. And then we've hit the plateau, we've hit the top, we've hit the peak, right? And right now, where we're at right now is we're at the part where the roller coaster is just starting to drop, and everyone on the roller coaster is starting to scream because they realize that they're going down that hill. That's where we're at right now. We're right where we've crested the top and we're going down.
What's funny is I feel like we crested the top in like the 1960s or so. And then it's just been a gradual, slow decline ever since. Yeah, you've had your ups and downs and your things and stuff like that, but overall prosperity, no, not relative to the prosperity you had in the 50s. One income could more than adequately pay for a house, and the annual vacations and the things and the stuff and all that. All the stuff that you would come to think of as being a successful American family, whatever, is long gone. You can't do that anymore. It just doesn't exist.
The white picket fence, the dog,
and everybody else, right? Doesn't exist.
Right.
Why? Because supply and demand works. But when you have limitless resources and you're just scooping up all the resources, the stuff that's left is going to be expensive because there's a shortage. That's exactly what's going on. Not just in housing. I mean, look at all over you got shortages happening everywhere. Some of it has to do with speculation. Some people go, like there was a guy one year that bought all the cocoa up and sat on it just to raise the price and sold it off. Really? We have to do that?
You had Nixon in the 70s, basically just destroying the dollar. I mean,
Oh yeah. Yeah, so, when it comes to excess deaths, I know we kind of got off on a tangent, but there's just so many factors that go into it.
Right.
But if you look at society on the whole, yeah, that's a big thing. How about like vaccinations? We have the biggest vaccination schedule in the world. We also have one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world. We're supposed to be the United States. We're supposed to be number one, the best.
Right.
How does that happen? That is a problem. Japan has one of the lowest. I mean, they don't have kids anymore, but they have one of the lowest infant mortality rates in the world.
I'm gonna say a word here, Joe, that those pesky conspiracy theorists like to use.
What's that?
Soft kill.
Oh, yeah. Bad. I can't believe you said that. Oh, that's almost as bad as saying vaccine. Yeah, don't say that. AI's like, burp, burp, burp. Vaccine, soft kill, same video, bad, ban, censor, please. It's true. I mean, I hate to say it, but if we actually got men and women that were actual people that used the scientific method and actually followed the truth and actually reported the truth, you would find all these inputs are contributing to the problem. And we could go on and on.
It's a multifaceted attack from all different angles, because you can't just chalk it down to one thing. There's like
magnetic field of the earth is failing, right?
Right, yeah.
Who's talking about that? Well, Benson and Ben Davidson, but not many others. Not many others. And if you think about it, the magnetic field weakens, more cosmic rays penetrate the earth, much like 5G penetrates your skin, gives you a tumor. So if you have a tumor, chances are it's probably from the freaking phone or smart device or wireless Jimmy Jank you have in your house, and then or smart meter. You know, we can go on and on. We can go on and on. Yeah, jet fuel in your water. You want some of that? Okay, a little bit of that.
Yummy.
Yeah, I just got my water report. It's out of tolerance. You know, and they'll tell you, well, the disinfectants and the water have caused an excess amount of biological material. Yeah, it's called dead bugs, dead biology. As infrastructure ages, you need to put more bleach or chlorine or bromide into your water to disinfect the lines. And when you do that, you get that film that forms around the pipe. That's dead biomass or carcass.
Sludge.
As that water goes through, guess what? It's going to pick some of that up, and you're going to drink it. So, of course, ours has been bad. They're doing all the water mains over right now, so everybody's freaking water bills went up 60%. And they're doing all the water mains right now. And, well, until 2027, we anticipate it's going to be elevated levels. But don't worry about it. Yeah, they just did the gas, too. Yeah. But that's, I mean, everybody's drinking out of old infrastructure. You got to remember, it was very, very, there's a stark line when it comes to life expectancy, if you look at history. And it was right around the turn of the 20th century when we started to see that life expectancy really start to spike upward. The main contributor to that, first and foremost, is hygiene. Hygiene. Having safe water to drink. You're not drinking out of ponds. You drink out of a reservoir, but it was treated, it was filtered, and it was distributed properly.
Bringing in fresh water and then implementing sewage systems that way people weren't using the bathroom in the middle of the road, and you just had open sewage pits and stuff like that. I mean,
and then the horses. You had the horses, and you had horse crap everywhere. It's crazy. All that went away, and when it did, life expectancy spiked. Then there was healthcare. You know, healthcare improved over time, and life expectancy went up. Now it's going down fast. COVID's behind us. It's still going down bad. And I'm telling you, this is a crisis, big time crisis. No one's talking about.
And then on top of that, you've got processed foods, processed sugars.
Yep.
You know, the diet of the average person has changed dramatically. You know, going from the 19th century to the 20th century.
No doubt.
Right.
No doubt.
And then you've got GMOs, you've got pesticides being sprayed on the crops. I mean, there's so many compounding factors that have just caused, you know, and they're like, well, why have cancer rates been rising all throughout the 20th century?
Right.
And,
well,
you know.
Yeah. Although now, hey, I heard that there's talk of a cancer vaccine coming down the pipe. And a lot of it centered around the research Cuba did. Cuba came up with their own lung cancer vaccine. And I don't know. All I know is Big Pharma raced down there as soon as Obama loosened the embargo on Cuba, and they started to collaborate. And now I hear they have a injectable form of, or like a, I don't want to call it a vaccine because it's really not, but gene therapy, let's call it. And that their gene therapy is said to be effective against pancreatic cancer, which of course you know is a very deadly one. There's one other form of cancer, but the pancreatic one stood out at me because that one seems to be the death knell. If you get that, that's bad juju. You're going down.
Your odds of surviving pancreatic cancer are good at all.
Not good. Yeah. So and so everybody knows 1 in 2 Americans, men, cancer, 1 in 3 females, cancer. It's kind of the rate these days, and it's not good. But all of this goes into your excess death. The problem that you have now, though, is the people that are dying are not the age that you would think they are. They're younger people in their 40s, lower 40s, 20s, 30s. They're young working age men and women that are just dropping and or dying of any sort of ailment that, historically speaking, didn't affect the population as much as it does now. So there really needs to be a conversation about this because it should be studied and understood and then changes implemented to stop it. Issue is there's no money in cures and there's no money in fixing the problem either. If anything, there's money in making more problems. And that's what they do. And that's what's going to continue to happen. Because what they'll do with the argument is, well, what do you want to do? Live like the Amish? No. But there's probably a better way to do it.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I do want to live like the Amish. But
yeah, tell me about it, dude. In a heartbeat. Of course I. Yeah, the true answer is yes, but no. That's not my motivation.
I still want to play my video games, man.
That's right. You can. That's right. That's right. It's cow tipping, video style. Anyway, yeah. So, I mean, I think the drastic solution, I hate that. That's one of those things that, well, when you want to do, live like the Amish. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, what I'm saying is RF is probably not the only way we can transmit a signal from place 1 to place 2. That I think human beings have the capability now to figure this out and get an off-ramp to RF and onto something different. Whatever that different is, I don't know what it is, but I know that there's probably a better way to do it. And if not, a better,
quantum communications, Joe.
Yeah,
quantum
or a better efficient way to transmit, so you're not full duplex transmit and receiving all the time. I don't know, man. I have an issue with that. But the excess deaths really, really, really trouble me.
Yeah.
Just because of really what goes into that. There's so much that goes into that. And then if you think of all the, like I said, the stressors that people are being subjected to at the workplace, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. And, like Ange tells me, and a lot of people have told me, it was a blessing that you lost your job. It was a blessing. It was meant to happen. Yeah, bigger and better things, she's saying. And that's good. I hope so. I don't have that ability to handle it. I've been a wreck. Absolute mess. I'm a fish out of water in this mode, in this capacity. I am. I'm just absolutely terrible. So, of course, I will say, get a new one.
You are an extremely qualified individual, and I have no doubt that you'll find someplace.
Oh no, I mean, I'll get it. Yeah, I know that, but I mean, it's when you have your thoughts, when you have you and your thoughts, Oh, it's a terrible place to be. It's a terrible, terrible place to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Well, we're getting to the end of here of hour number 1. Hour number 2 is on the way. Don't forget, hour 3 and 4 will be with Popeye as we navigate the troubled waters of his rabbit hole.
Das Poopster.
Das Poopster.
Yeah.
And his chickens. He reminds me of Gonzo from the Muppet Show now. Always had his girlfriend hen there, you know? I think it was Gonzo, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. He had the chicken girlfriend.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. So we'll be right back. Don't forget to support kgradb.com. Hey, if you want to donate to my cause, Mr. Unemployment, you can. I made a GoFundMe link, and it'll be in the description of the video. And that's basically it for hour number 1. So don't go away, folks. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm gonna take it for the energy, I'm gonna take it for the play, I'm gonna take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing, it works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a feel the difference money back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected. Only at kgradb.com.
Well, we're back. It's hour number 2 of the Freedom Link. KGRADB.com. Joe Joseph, Scotty Lopez here. Holy schmoly. What a great hour number 1. Feel much better now. Although, oof. What a break. We'll just put it that way. Jeez. Stomach went sour about a minute before.
No.
Oh, yeah. I was just like talking to like, oh, come on. Oh, yeah. Oh, feel better. Purge. Boo. Gone. So
purge it all, Joe. Purge it all
right.
out. Get it out.
Cast out thy demons.
Cast out thy demons.
Speaking of demons, so there's been a lot of talk of UFO and aliens lately. Of course, that disclosure came out. Well, they don't want to call it disclosure, but certainly does sound like disclosure to me. Where, and folks, let me tell you, the intelligence apparatus in the DoD is very compartmentalized, extremely compartmentalized. So you could have, a section of that organization do things, and no one else outside of that section knows anything about it.
Right.
And they're actually instructed to be that way. You know, like, we don't want to know. Because if we know, then we have to say, I mean, people get lie detected and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really messed up world. That world.
Compartmentalization is pretty crazy, especially like when you see it in like, for example, if they're working on a top secret aircraft, right? You've got one department that's just working on the nose cone, but they have no idea what the wing looks like or anything. You know, so it just that's how they operate.
So the Daily Mail has this exclusive: crashed UFO recovered by the U.S. military distorted space and time, leaving one investigator nauseous and disoriented. When he went in and discovered it was much larger inside than out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what was the TARDIS?
Right.
Wasn't that Doctor Who's telephone booth?
Right.
Seriously. Yeah. Think about that.
I remember there was like a comedy show where a guy had a trailer, right? Like a mobile home, and he walked in the door and there was like a mansion inside, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right? Now, funny enough, that could very well be the case. You know, we take for granted, well, first of all, we don't understand that kind of capability because it's kind of outside of our little prison that we're in. But hence the reason why CERN was so dangerous and continues to be dangerous because and all this quantum stuff, whether it's quantum computing or anything else, when you punch holes in the veil that separate different existent, remember, we only can tell and interpret 5% of the known universe. There's so much more to it that we don't know and we can't see and we don't feel.
Well, you remember when Kev Baker interviewed Geordie Rose, the head of D-Wave,
Yep.
And you know, Geordie had said that when they, access these parallel realities or parallel dimensions, there's 10% information that comes back out of it. And Kev was like, wait, well, where's that 10% coming from? And he kind of didn't really want to answer that, or he didn't really know, so when you're playing with stuff like this, who knows, right?
That's right. So Daniel Sheehan, that's this guy right here. Daniel Sheehan said he was told the mind-boggling tale by a whistleblower who allegedly took part in an illegally undisclosed program retrieving crashed non-human spacecraft, and who has now briefed the Senate Intelligence Committee staff. The lawyer's story is the latest in a series of stunning claims this week of UFOs in the government's hands, which began on Monday with an on-camera interview of a former senior Air Force intelligence officer, David Grush, alleging that the U.S. government possesses multiple crashed non-human craft. The Department of Defense says it has not discovered any verifiable information to support the claims, but Sheehan has been helping bring whistleblowers like Grush to Congress in an attempt to expose what he believes is a government cover-up of encounters with extraterrestrials. And I will say this, that I don't know necessarily if what we're going to encounter classifies as what we would consider to be alien. What I will say is, I think that we've opened up enough holes now that we're shining like a beacon, like a lighthouse out there, where we were probably once protected to some extent, and now we're not. And as a result, there's some shenanigans happening. Because if you think about it,
I think a lot of it started when we first detonated the nuclear bomb.
I do too.
Because I don't think at a fundamental level we understand what happens at the exact point of it, where the chain reaction takes place.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Right. And I think at the center of nuclear explosions, we are we're ripping open space and time.
Right. No different than like the Tower of Babel, right? So there it was, big Stargate. What do you think it's doing? What do you think it's doing? It's a dimensional gateway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think that this is? What do you think that these vehicles are? All that is just a way to navigate through that. Oh, well now, hey, there's a hole. Well, what do you mean? I mean, it was only there for a minute or a nanosecond. Yeah, that's the problem. See, we're trapped in this time prison. And people don't realize how much time is a prison. It truly is. Whatever these beings are, they obviously have control over and or are not tethered to time in any way.
Right. It might be a nanosecond. It might be a nanosecond for us, but for them, that could be hundreds of years or whatever. They don't have to follow the same rules of time that we do.
Or the laws of physics. What are those?
Yes,
I don't know. We got our own laws.
Right.
Screw you. And that's exactly so. This is very interesting because this tracks exactly with what you and I and Kev and all of the people over time have been saying for quite some time, that as you continue to do these things and push the envelope of that technology, so too will it increase the amount of activity that comes around with the interdimensional stuff. And eventually you're not going to be able to hide it as you might think. Now, I think it's interesting that in this case, this gentleman talked about, as a matter of fact, it says, the attorney told Daily Mail that one alleged recovery recounted to him by a supposed crash retrieval program insider involved a 30-foot saucer partially embedded in the earth with some fantastical properties. They tried to hook a bulldozer to it and pull it out. And it pulled out a shape like a pie slice, almost like it was part of the way it was constructed. And then when it came loose a couple of feet, then it stopped immediately. They didn't want to destroy the integrity of the machine. So he said they had a guy go and look in it. He got in there, and it was as big as a football stadium. It was freaking him out and started making him feel nauseous. He was so disoriented because it was so gigantic inside. So it was the size of a football stadium, but it was only about 30 feet in diameter.
So imagine that, they've probably reached a level of technological advancement to where they don't need a gigantic mothership to carry their civilization. They can just pack a bunch of them in a tiny little, because they're able to distort, space and time and size.
Yeah,
has
like
no
a little
bearing.
pocket within the thing. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the interesting thing. He says he staggered back out after being in there a couple of minutes, and outside it was 4 hours later. So there was all kinds of time distortion and space distortion going on. Physicists have theorized that propulsion of an advanced craft could theoretically involve warping space-time around it to negate the effects of gravity. But Sheehan declines to give further details, including a location and a date of the incident, and said he was unable to provide evidence for the claims. The lack of details, documents, and photos are leading skeptics to dismiss this all tales of a off-world UFO stored by secret government programs. Military intelligence officers who have voiced their support for Grush since he came forward publicly pointed out that he has placed himself at considerable risk if he is lying, as all his claims have been submitted to DOD and intelligence community inspector generals on penalty of perjury. So he most certainly went and talked to the agencies prior to going public and submitted his whistleblower claim. So if in fact he is lying, yeah, he's right. That's criminal. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't see what this guy has to gain from it, really. I mean,
I don't either. There's nothing to gain from
Right.
it.
And-
You're
and
going to
he's-
destroy your life.
And you look at his qualifications and everything he's been involved in, right? You know, Air Force,
Unless
and
it's an
all
op.
that.
Unless it's an op.
Yeah, I mean that's the only other explanation, right? Is just all just one big op, that they're running on everyone, and I mean that's a real possibility as well. I'm definitely not.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
keeping that out of
it's an op, it could be an op, right? Right. What better way? Because didn't we bring it up right before the broadcast? Think about Ronald Reagan at the UN in the 1980s, right? Addressing the UN General Assembly and talking about, well, wouldn't it be nice if aliens went and, they went and they invaded. Wouldn't that bring the world together? Hmm? Yeah, of course it will. Yeah. Holy crap. Aliens are coming. We're screwed. All of a sudden, all this bickering about money and housing and stuff and people survive. All that shit just took a back seat because holy crap. He's right. That would be kind of like level of scale measure change in an instant. Boom. I wish they would get it done already. Just come out with it. What do you got? Is it bullshit or not? But there's got to be all this cloak and dagger stuff. And quite frankly, I think we're going to come to find out that they've been here a very, very, very long time. Even the Bible speaks about it, the watchers that have been here for a very, 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 very long time.
And it's very interesting
Sasquatch too. And we can't forget about Sasquatch. And I'm serious about that too, though, because let me tell you something. Just like these aliens, there are a ton of people and a ton of evidence to support that Sasquatch exists. As a matter of fact, I'm confident enough to say, yeah, it definitely does. Definitely does. And I'll tell you what, if I am ever lucky enough to be able to get to some place to be able to do some exploring, right? Like one of the jobs I'm going after is in upstate New York. Everybody's like, why would you want to move to New York? You're right. I get it. But it just so happens to be one of those areas that are really nice. As far as like from a Sasquatch hunting perspective. And I don't mean hunting. I mean, like, I want to go explore and meet him. little fist pump. Don't worry about that infrasound.
Sit down. Sit down and break
dirt.
some bread with Sasquatch.
That's it, man. I'll give him some of my infrasound. How's that? We'll play some great infrasounds. But in all honesty, though, why the secrecy? What are you trying to hide, and what is the intent? And the intent, in my humble opinion, is if you have a disclosure of that nature, it does something that brings people together in ways that they don't want happening. It goes against the grain of divisiveness and, like you said, demoralization. If all of a sudden we're not alone, yeah.
Yeah, it completely disrupts their divide and conquer strategy.
That's right. Do you think Sasquatch gives a crap if you're black or white? Honest to God, do you think so? Do you think the gray or the reptilian or whatever else you want to say? Do you think that they give a crap if you're black or white or tan or yellow or whatever? No, they're gonna say that you're schmiggelblib. That's their language for human.
Right.
I just made that up. I couldn't say it twice.
Hey, schmiggelblib.
But seriously, it does. That's it. They don't care what color you are. Who cares? You're a human being, and we're going to kill you. And that's all there is to it. We're going to vaporize you. Oh, yes. Because an alien race like that has a 30-foot flying saucer with an inside the size of a football field, they're really going to give a crap about what humanity has to offer, right? Because we don't have anything to offer them. What the hell do we have to offer them? Unless they're looking for natural resources.
Our fresh organs, Joe.
Or maybe our organs. Maybe we're like the foie gras for them. Yeah. The goose, the stuffed goose livers or whatever, the
To
fattened
serve
goose livers.
man.
That's right. That's what they want to do, is eat our organs. in a nice setting, in a football field, in their flying saucer.
Hey, or look, maybe we're the only planet in the galaxy that's got T-bone steaks, and that's why they got
cattle mutilation.
Cattle mutilation, right?
God
They
dang
just
it,
wanna
gotta go 500 light years for this dang gone T-bone.
They just want a good old ribeye, man. That's all.
That's it. Boy, they do some seriously bizarre things to those cattle too, and it happens a lot. See, that's the other thing too. You have all these things that are happening. How come nobody else is talking about it except us in the tinfoil hat community? What the hell? I mean, this is serious crap. People aren't just doing that. It's like laser precision type stuff. I mean, like, we don't have the technology type stuff, and it's happening, and no one talks about it. Why? I can't imagine that all of this stuff is going on. You see all of these instances where people are seeing these objects and you don't know what the heck it could be. Matter of fact, you can't trust anything anymore. How many times did we talk about the Mandela effect and how piercing the veil, as they know they're doing, is ways for them to change the very physical things that we deal with on a daily basis that all of a sudden aren't the way they are. Biblical changes. How can you trust your Bibles anymore?
Whatever's going on, it's causing bleed through, right? Where you're getting like a merger of two different dimensions where things are slightly different, right?
That's right. What the hell? How do you whoa, that's bad. It's very bad. So think about that. Not only do you have AI and all that crap that, of course, is going to be used nefariously. Why? Because wherever there's greed, there's a nefarious human being around, right? And you can put all the protocols in place, right? A la guns. And does that stop criminal behavior? No. It only stops good people from getting the guns. The bad people still get the guns. Well, what do you think AI is going to be? Oh, no, good person. You can't have that AI. No. Meanwhile, Mr. Criminal on Wall Street or somebody else, nefarious, is changing reality right before our eyes to where we don't know what's real, what's not real, or are concocting and executing a scheme to take advantage of millions of people. Who knows what it is, but it's all going to happen.
Have you heard about the AI scam going on right now where they're using this voice mimicking AI technology?
Oh, yeah.
And you got scammers that are calling people and they're using this AI voice technology to mimic the sound of, like, say, a family member or something like that.
Oh, yeah. The chatbot. So after they die, you could speak to grandma.
Well, scammers are using it to where it's like, oh, it sounds like grandma's calling you on the phone and she needs you to write her an emergency check for $1,000, or whatever. Send some money, and hey, it sounds like grandma. It must be grandma, right? But
but meanwhile, it's Ferdinand from Nigeria.
Right. They've scraped grandma's voice and ran it through an AI. That way they can make grandma say whatever they want grandma to say, or mom or dad.
That's the AI. Put them on a video call. There's grandma.
You've got your
voice and all.
Voice and deep fake, merged together, and it's wild. But I guess the one thing I can say that is good about this is that, look, I mean, the Pandora's box is open, and a lot of this AI technology is open source, so anybody can utilize it, whether it be for good or bad. But at least there's not a monopoly on a lot of this AI technology, and people in general can use it, right? Like, I could use it. If you have just a big enough hard drive to store data sets, anybody can can utilize
so-
AI. So
So there's a good example for all of you that like to follow Hollywood, right? And the Kardashians. Of course, you remember Kim Kardashian was married to Kanye West. And at her 40th birthday party, Kanye breaks out this AI generated like hologram of her father, Robert Kardashian. And he was like, you know, hey, baby, I'm so proud of you and everything else in his own voice, looking just like him. She said it was the freakiest thing. It was a terrible thing. It was a scary thing. And you can totally see how that technology can be exploited already. And we're just getting into it. This is the problem. It's uncharted territory. You can't regulate it at this point. Human bureaucracy cannot respond fast enough to the way AI is evolving.
right.
That's why it's scary sick right now as far as where we're at and where we're going. Because no one knows. Because you can't know. Because it's bad. Because it is. And it has nothing to do with it. People will have the best intentions. We all do. But it always inevitably takes us to hell. And we're going. And I hate to say it, it doesn't look like it's
now
gonna take that long.
we're entering a time where now you're starting to see, these bad actors using AI, and then now the good actors are using AI to fight the bad actors, and you got AI versus AI, activity going on. And remember, Kev used to always talk about the adversarial AI, right? Where you need to challenge it, or it needs to be going against something. And what happens with that whenever you have like AI systems fighting against each other? How far are they willing to go to like destroy each other and things like that?
I don't know. That ends up being a big issue. I look at AI as being the Antichrist power that the Bible speaks of. Antichrist power is anything that's opposite of or in place of Christ, right? That's an Antichrist. Right. In place of Christ. Not opposite. People think opposite. It's not opposite. It's in place of. So, if it's in place of, think about AI and how that is being touted as the savior for everything. People are going to go to AI for everything. They're asking AI for everything. They're talking to AI about their ailments. The AI's passing the medical exams, the bar exam. It's doing all that stuff.
Because what did they always used to what did they always tell religious people? Pray every night, ask God all the questions. He'll eventually answer them. Any problem or issue you may have, you tell God, and then eventually you will receive those answers and whatnot. And what does AI do? Hey, tell AI your problems. Ask AI your questions.
Only you're getting it instantly and right there,
right?
Like a direct line to your AI God.
And you're the Antichrist, right? He's going to perform what seems to be miracles and things like that. The AI is going to do things that blow humans' minds to where it looks like a miracle, or it seems impossible or magical, right? And so, as this technology progresses and the AI gets more and more, fed more data, and it becomes more and more powerful, I guess you could say, it's going to start doing things that just seem completely unbelievable and wild, to
think
the
about
average
it,
person.
when general intelligence comes along,
Right.
that right there. And I'm sorry, they're saying, oh, that's like 2030. No. I would bet you within the next year or two, we have AGI. Because that's how fast we're getting there. They're talking about making artificial brains at this point, almost like a positronic, like Data, Star Trek.
Remember you talked about that thing on the show the other. We done where they basically were able to completely map all the neurons in the brain and
right. They know it all.
They
can simulate it in a computer now.
Create a brain simulation, and
yeah, and that's what they've done. And so now these language models, as they call them, or chatbots, are starting to grow a mind of their own and starting to reason and do things. Now, when you take an AGI and you feed it, basically the human database, and say, have at you. Go explore, find truth and justice and happiness and universal advance, whatever, right? Yeah, that's great for that person that's using it that way. But let me tell you something. There's going to be so many more that are going to be like, very bad things, very bad things. So I hope and pray that that things don't go south. But I mean, I just don't see it happening. We tend to really, when we mess up, we do it right. We do it right, humanity. Let me tell you something. So I can certainly see something like that. Certainly a Tower of Babel moment, much like there's the Stargate, there's Nimrod, and oh yeah, what does God say? I have to destroy this thing, and I have to scatter the languages, because if I don't, there's nothing that these humans aren't capable of. Think about that.
Speaking of AI, I want to talk about something very interesting that AI has been used for, which I know a lot of people probably were like, what? But cheating in online games, first-person shooter games. People are utilizing AI to scan the screen for shapes that look like bodies.
Yeah.
Right. And then it will automatically point and aim and shoot. So you have like an aimbot, that's being controlled by an artificial it's being controlled by an artificial intelligence, and it's completely undetectable. So they can't kick you or ban you or whatever. So now they're developing AI anti-cheat systems to detect the AI cheats. So here we go again. You got an AI versus an AI, just so people can play an online game. It's wild, dude.
And remember the old saying. We go by two sayings here. What's been seen it cannot be unseen. You're going to see it. It's there. It's out there. Genie's out of the bottle. Ain't never going back in. Right? That's a big, big thing. And then, of course, there's always a workaround. There's always going to be a workaround. Humans, I always go back to that. That event in human history, the Tower of Babel, was huge. It was a pivotal moment. At the same time that's going on, you had genetic manipulation going on. Again, Lord of the Rings style stuff. Really, 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 really messed up in a different way, but messed up nonetheless. Unbelievable, fantastic technology, just manifested different in that form or that iteration of humanity.
It wasn't your cell phone, it was a crystal and a staff,
Right. The other thing to remember too, though, is, God did say he made us man in his own image. And that's pretty big too, because what it says is, and the reason why he had to scatter the languages and why he destroyed the tower was just because of that. There's nothing we're not capable of or to accomplish. We are capable of doing and learning some things that we probably shouldn't be learning, but we are nonetheless. Why? Because we're human. And that's what we do. We love to learn and mess things up. And boy, oh boy, when we do it right. And so, and typically that all has to do and is centered around, like I said, money and greed. It has nothing to do with the pursuit of knowledge. That's nice. A lot of people are into that. But those people aren't really destroying things unless they, hey, there's a 50% chance we can ignite the entire atmosphere. Press the red button. How are we going to learn unless we do it?
We're a dangerously curious species that have
like cats.
We're like cats. Somehow have not depleted our 9 lives yet.
Yeah, we're like cats. Anybody that owns a cat knows they're fearlessly curious to their own detriment, and so are we. Very feline in nature. Yeah, really a pain in the butt. But yeah, that's this technology. Everything that we're doing right now is really feeding into our demise, and there's really no way to stop it. You can't stop it. A lot of people say, what are you going to do? How do you fix it? You don't. You can't. What am I supposed to do? You want me to go out there? As President of the United States of America, thank you, America, for electing me in 2024. The first thing I'm going to do is ban all AI. Right? Okay. Yeah, let's see how that works. No. The only people that suffer are the common folk, because everybody else has AI, and you're being taken advantage of and not have the tools to help combat it. Oh, great.
And it's already been open sourced, so there's no way to...
There's no way. That's why I'm saying it's done. It's a done deal.
You'd have to completely pull the whole internet down if you wanted to...
Just like the alien thing. The alien things, it's the same thing. It's done. People know that there's more to life than us. Right? It'd be kind of foolish to think that there isn't anything else outside of us. Hell, the Bible says there's others outside of us.
Right.
Yeah, and all the other extra biblical text out there. Not to mention all the archaeological stuff and skulls and things that have been found over the years. Let alone giants. But where did they come from? It just boggles my mind. It's no different than, like Noah's Ark. You want to go see it? It's in Turkey. It's there. You can go see it today.
Mount Ararat or whatever.
Ararat, yeah.
Ararat, yeah.
Right there. There it is. Can't deny it. The indigenous people will tell you, oh, yeah, you know what? 100 years ago, the gravestones were still there for the family. Before they got poached or vandalized or whatever. You want to go over to Saudi Arabia? Go see that charred mountaintop that's still there? You want to go see the altar of the golden calf that they want to build Neom through? How about the sulfur balls and the pillars of salt over at Sodom and Gomorrah? All that stuff is still there. It's still there. So that tells you something, right? It says, wow, there's more to this life than just us. We didn't come from the Campbell's soup puddle of freaking protein.
Primordial ooze.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Sorry, Charlie. So that's my point. Like, what are we doing? Oh, I know. We're dying. We're dying like crazy. And why? I don't know. I think that this kind of thing could change things, hopefully for the better. Probably not, but hopefully for the better. I guess we can hope it would be better. God has to step in. I honestly, truly think at this point, I don't know if I think this train's going too fast. We're going.
You're echoing the same sentiment my mom's been echoing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. It's wild. We're definitely in. I would say probably one of the wildest times in human history. We're alive to witness some wild stuff right now that I don't think
you could think about it, right?
Could ever anticipate.
Well, think about this, right? Relative to the rest of humanity, I may have lost my job, but I'm better off probably than 6 billion other people on the planet. You know what I mean?
Right.
All weather's local. So while I'm freaking out, there's a lot of people have it a lot worse than I do. And believe me, I understand that. But if this comes to fruition, like I think it will, it's going to be a lot worse for everybody. A lot worse.
Right.
And I don't see any way to stop it without some sort of direct intervention. And then you would start to see the way this is kind of coming together. And it makes that direct intervention a lot more realistic. Like, as time goes on, I would wager to say that the deception, of course, is going to pick up dramatically. We used to talk about Project Bluebeam a lot, right? And for some time, I'm sure that was a viable and relevant program and technology. But now with AI and everything else, that's so antiquated, and we're so far past that you could simulate anything. Hell, you can simulate the second coming at this point. And if you read prophecy, it talks about that there will be, and that don't buy it because you'll know when it happens, you'll know. And they can simulate all they want. They ain't going to simulate this. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But that's the way that is. And there's going to be that. So when you start seeing this disclosure thing start popping up, that's what concerns me. Is what is it going to be? Is it going to be like Childhood's End? Remember the Arthur C. Clarke novel that
the alien that looks like Satan, you know?
Oh, yeah, if you haven't seen that, you got to see that. That is, let me tell you something. That is a freaking tough series to watch. I was like freaked out after that series.
If I saw something like that come off a ship or something, I'd be like, you know what? I'm about to go full Diablo on this dude.
What, man? You know,
yeah, it's wild.
Ushering in a golden age of humanity. But boy, is there a price to be paid for that? And if you, like I said, if you haven't watched it, please do, because a lot of people said Arthur C. Clarke was in the know about some things, and to some extent, I'm sure he was. I know that he was into kitty fiddling a little bit, a lot of it, and that's why he moved to Thailand. But regardless of that, most of these in the know people they're into that kind of stuff. And if they're not doing that, they're taking their blood and injecting it because it gives them anti-aging all that stuff. They do all that crap. Now, give them this technology. What the hell do you think they're going to do with it? They're arresting people that go to church just for going to church right now. What if you could just hijack a whole belief system? Oh man, that's powerful. That's powerful. And not only that, get away with it because the AI can really do miracles and solve problems. So that's where it's going to get really tough.
Right. And I've seen articles and I've seen discussion where people are like talking about, well, why not just replace our priests and our heads of churches with artificial
intelligence? They just had something on that. Hold that thought, because where did I see that? Yes. AP News. Can a chatbot preach a good sermon? Hundreds attend church service generated by ChatGPT to find out.
See, that's what I'm saying.
This is in Germany. Go ahead.
Well, the rationale that I heard for it was, well, this can get rid of corruption and a lot of these issues that we see in the church with
I agree.
Priests doing bad things, right? And all of that. And now you just have an AI that just, gives you the sermon and all of that, and you don't have to deal with the corruption of a human, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see. This is the rationale for it. This is how they're going to get their foot in the door to get people to come on board.
Everywhere. Right. It's always the shortcoming of man.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, and Fürth, Germany, the GPT chatbot, personified by an avatar of a bearded black man on a huge screen above the altar, then began preaching to the more than 300 people who'd shown up on Friday morning for an experimental Lutheran church service, almost entirely generated by AI. It says, "Dear friends, it's an honor for me to stand here and preach to you as the first artificial intelligence at this year's convention of Protestants in Germany." Whew. It says, "I conceived this service, but actually I rather accompanied it because I would say about 98% comes from the machine. The AI church service was one of hundreds of events at the convention. And it drew such immense interest that people began forming a long queue outside the 19th century church. So that's pretty interesting." He says, "I told the artificial intelligence," this is a Simmerline, the guy's name is, that came up with it. "I told the artificial intelligence, we're going to the church congress. You are a preacher. What would a church service look like?" And then he ended up with a pretty solid church service, so he says.
Wow.
And that's all he had to do. Just, "Hey, why don't you preach a church service for me?" Now, there was a guy there, Mark Jansen, 31-year-old Lutheran pastor from another town in Germany. He said, "I actually imagined it to be worse, but I was positively surprised at how well it worked. Also, the language of the AI worked well, even though it was still a bit bumpy at times." So already you're starting to see the average person sitting in the pew isn't going to be able to, or probably wouldn't care about any disruption of tempo or anything like that.
The
A lot
nuances of
Right.
a sermon. Yeah, right.
Right. So, yeah, is it dangerous? It's absolutely dangerous. Can I see that being, people are talking about that with judges. Get rid of the judges. Have the AI do it. AI will be impartial. AI won't have any allegiances. Say who? What? Since when?
Right. That's the issue, and I think that's the main thing that people do not understand. Is that, there's this belief out there that AI is completely neutral and impartial. No, AI is extremely biased because if you feed it biased data, you're going to get biased results.
Boy, sounds a lot like humans.
Right. And so you've seen that already with ChatGPT, right? Spouting out a lot of woke politics sort of answers to people's questions when, I thought this thing was supposed to be like politically neutral and, not be swayed to one side or the other, but as you see, the information that it is being fed seems to tilt to one side, and so its answers are going to tilt to one side. So, how do you create an AI that is, perfectly neutral? How do you create an AI that doesn't have a bias towards one side or another? I don't know. I don't think you can. Right.
No, I don't either. And quite frankly, do I see it being like Judgment Day? Like the Terminator? No, I don't. I really, truly don't. I think that if anything manifests like that, it's going to be human initiated, albeit AI executed. Humans will have a place and a place in that, and a role to play.
It'll be humans that make the decision to unleash it, if you will. Right.
So I don't know what the solution is outside of the second coming at this point. I just don't. I don't think anything short of that's gonna stop it. And I don't think it's going to be not chaotic. It's already chaotic. That's the problem. We've been boiling frogs up to chaotic already, and that's normal for us. That's why our hearts are failing.
May I propose that a Carrington event may stop that?
Now, that one might do it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
see?
Unless, of course, they're in the ground or, or whatever, far enough to where that doesn't happen. But a good Carrington event could, of course, at the same time, uncouple the crust from the mantle, and we could just have a good old-fashioned pole shift at the same time.
Woo! Slipping and sliding, baby.
So we can get a 2-for-1 special. Let's knock out the AI and civilization all in one shot. Hoorah!
Hoorah!
And if you think about that, that would actually make some sense. And I could actually see that happening because if you look at prophecy in the tribulation says, or the prophecy says something about the tribulation, like it is a time that will be like no other time on the history of the entire history of the earth. Not before, not since. It's going to be that bad. Like, bad. So, because of that, I would think that would probably be okay, there's X amount of people that survived a cataclysm, and you're all that's left, and here I am. And if you think about it, you'd want it to be if there is a cataclysm of say a Carrington event, you better hope and pray. You better hope and pray that there is a big mass destruction of everything. Because if you don't, hello, Kriston. Kriston is hitting us up on Facebook. Who are these nerds? I don't know who these nerds are. What nerds? You see any nerds? I don't see any nerds. That's right. Ain't no nerds in this, is he? But I honestly think, man, that if you do that, right, and you got that kind of event, we built all our reactors on a fault line. All I can think of is, man, they were probably thinking about that. Like, oh, man, well, what if we have a Carrington event? What if we have something that's going to trigger something else? Where do you want these things? Well, let's put them on a fault line. Yes, that way they get gobbled up immediately and into the ground. I hope that was what they were thinking. I hope it wasn't an oversight. They come back and they say, man, what a coinky dink. We just so happened to put all our reactors on a fault line. Yeah. Yeah. That's what it is. That's what it is. So, yeah, there's reasons for everything. You don't want to be on a post-Earth, cataclysmic Earth world with all these reactors melting down and all the other toxic crap that gets spilled and dumped.
Better make sure you took notes whenever you played Fallout 4. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I find like when we talk about excess deaths, this all started because, like I said, you lose the job, you start getting lost in your mind. And it's a bad, 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 dark place to be. You don't want to be lost in Joe's mind. It's very bad. And you start thinking about this crap. And boy, we have normalized and made it okay to have humanity tweaking, running balls to the wall, max input, max output, absolute insanity, and it's the norm, and it's killing us. And all of these things that we do that can say streamline or make it easier actually ends up making it worse in the long run. It really does. Because look at what they do, all their efficiencies. Do you see any of that in your paycheck? No, that's going to your shareholders. That's going to your Wall Street. That's going to your dividends. Yeah, it's not going in your paycheck. No, sir. You are a slave. And that's the way it is. And it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. I can't tell you how many people at the facility I was at were hating life. I mean, we were all hating life. It's terrible. We went from it being an absolutely fabulous place to work. It's great. To an absolute wretched place to work where people just didn't want to be there. You get people crying at their desks.
Yeah, it's horrible when stuff like that happens. When things just start going downhill like that, and bad deal, man.
Yeah, it's terrible. So it's a blessing and a curse. You know, it always is. And everything is, the duality of everything is just crazy. Then you get into quantum and everything else. And then there's, why duality? Why is there only two? Yeah, and that's when your mind really melts, and then you really go into freaking, oh, geez, no, let's not go there. Please, please, no. Yeah. Don't forget, 7 minutes. We're going to be going off the air or so. 7 minutes-ish?
No, more like 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that's it. More like 3 minutes. And but don't you worry, though. We'll be right back. And the issue that we have here is now you have a gaggle of nerds that are going to convene on Popeye's broadcast where we can all discuss, hi, Bill, where we can all discuss what he really does in that chicken coop. We're going to be doing that on Popeye's broadcast.
Wait, there's more.
Oh, yes, but wait, there's more. If you tune in the next 5 minutes, you'll get Kriston Harris absolutely free.
Yes, Kriston is going to be joining, host of the Rundown Live with co-host Don Vi Jr., of course.
So there you go. It's going to be an absolute gaggly nerd festival. And
the whole band is getting back to
a happy action fun time of OG-ness.
Right.
I'm actually going to call Don while we're getting ready for the show and see if he wants to join, making a big party.
Oh, man. See, it's just going to be that.
This is going to be crazy.
This is going to turn into a Hangar 18, and that's going to be bad. If it turns into a Hangar 18, I apologize in advance if you end up getting banned from every platform. It is not our fault. I swear it just happens. You can ask Popeye about that too. Even ask Kriston. It just devolves, and you have no control over it. And then once it goes, it gets a life of its own. It's almost like a virus, and it eats everything. I'm just warning you. You get these people in the same space, whether it be simulation or video or in person, and very bad things can happen. Very good things can happen, though, too.
Oh, yeah.
Hot damn.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, boy.
We don't have to worry about certain things. We're not on YouTube, are we? I don't think. Oh, we are. On your channel.
That's why I'm saying it's probably not going to be around for much longer, but if it is,
it's okay, Joe. Your channel can be the sacrificial lamb, I guess.
Normally, that's a Popeye thing. He's got like Federal Jack Tube 547 and Federal Jack Tube 983. Yeah,
Right.
He went through those phases too. The AI knows us well,
but we will be on Rumble.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Thank God for that.
And Facebook.
And
of course, KGRADB.com.
That's right. The mothership.
Don't talk mothership. There's too much stuff going on. You never know what's going to happen at any given
right.
time.
Is Bill's house actually the size of a football stadium?
Yeah. Now
on the inside.
I need to know. Is your house bigger on the inside than in the outside? Because if it is, you're an alien.
It kind of is. It looks small from the outside, but it's big in the inside. Does that add up to anything?
See, there you go. I think Bill's over there warping space and time, man.
Well, not only that, but perhaps Bill is actually the point person between the aliens and
wait.
humanity.
If we do something, maybe this will work. Maybe if you guys put on, let me just put it on the screen. I'll just make believe. I'm going to put it on one of your faces. Do I look different now with the shades?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, dude. Totally.
Like they live.
Right.
I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
It was a terrible movie. It was a great message, but it was a terrible movie.
Oh, come on. It's a classic.
Yeah, it's classically terrible, but it was a great message. It was a great message. That shit wasn't talked about then.
Roddy Piper said before he passed away that this movie's more of a documentary.
Absolutely. That's why, I love documentaries, but don't sell it like a movie because it's not. It was a documentary. It was absolutely a documentary.
Anyway, gentlemen, you want to take us out and get ready for Popeye?
Yeah, so don't forget, support KGRADB.com and stay tuned for a happy action fun time. 2 hours of jocularity that you won't get anywhere else. We'll be right back.